How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back. Finally, we are back. The internationals are pretty much over, but it is the week leading up to Game Week 5, and we are here with the Game Week 5 preview. And today, we're going to be taking a look at can Liverpool and Manchester City bounce back. Obviously, Sadio Mane was out for Liverpool in their 7-2 thumping. The defense looked all over the shop. City, only getting a draw out of a newly promoted team in Leeds, although Leeds did look quite good. But City at moments looked very, very open and very exploitable, as was Benjamin Mendy's substitution kind of showed that. So we're going to talk about those things. We're also going to talk about where the clean sheets are going to be coming from. And then lastly, we're going to take a look at kind of team structure in a sense, because a lot of people have been wildcarding over the break. I haven't been one of those players. I still have my wildcard in my back pocket. I had a pretty good game week, but I see people kind of, going through, trying to potentially wildcard their team away, and I'm kind of being patient with that. And as usual, we'll go through the normal predictions and how we did in the previous week as well. Got to get my notebook ready here because we keep a little tally to see how we do. And we'll tell you those rules or kind of how we do it as we go along. Also, I would like to give thanks to all of you. We have become an affiliate here on Twitch, which is fantastic. We've also got over 1,000 subscribers. I think we're almost at 1,100 now over on YouTube as well. So big thanks to you all over there as well. We're going to keep pushing out the content. We're going to keep doing what we do best here, which is FPL. And at some point, we will basically transition all the FPL stuff over to YouTube. That is not going to be that this season, however. But we still have some fun over here on Twitch as well for gaming content as well as FPL content. And we're going to be doing our Game Week previews. Usually are going to be on Mondays. However, next week and the week after, so Game Week 6 and 7, they have a game over on the Friday, so we're gonna have to move the deadline streams for those game weeks up to the night before, which is going to be on the Thursday. So there's going to be no videos for those two game weeks on the Friday and Saturday. There'll be the usual gaming video on Sunday. However, what we're going to do is the same amount of content that's usually in that week, we're just going to compress it into less days, which is perfectly fine for you guys because you still get to see all the videos that you would want to see, but it's just going to be in less time and not as spread out. So what we're going to do, as usual, we're going to take a look at the team and see how we did. So without further ado, let's see how the team did. So we ended up with 71 points, which I think is pretty good with the -4. We ended up with 67, if my math is correct. We had a few key standouts this week in my team, mainly getting the captaincy right for the 4th time in a row. Just going to check over here. We had, so our rank increased by around 1 million, I think. We were at 2.4 or thereabouts, and I think we're at like 2.39 or 1.39 mil, something like that, which is 1.4. We made 2 transfers, which was Castagne we brought in, and we brought Ings in from last week. They were for Timo Werner, of course. And we also took out Doherty, who, at the end of the day, the hit, I think we ended up losing 3 points from it overall. But at the end of the day, we want these players in. We've gained 0.1 on Castagne total sell value already because we got him in at 5.6. He's now 5.8, which is good for us. We've also gained 0.1, not sell value, but 0.1 value on Ings as well, which is quite nice. And I think that's going to help us in the long term, basically. So let's run through the team a little bit here. So we had McCarthy getting us 9 points. Fantastic showing from him, finally getting a clean sheet after having a somewhat poor start to the season with the he got a clean sheet the week before as well. So 2 back-to-back clean sheets are doing quite well for himself, but obviously getting 2 and 0 in the first 2 games wasn't ideal. He does have a very tough set of fixtures, a tough 3 really, in Chelsea, Everton, and Aston Villa. So hopefully we're not expecting too much from him there. Hopefully we can get something. Liverpool got pounded, to say the least. They conceded 7, which didn't look good on our defenders, getting -1. Leicester also not keeping a clean sheet, losing 3-0 to the likes of West Ham. Not ideal. But at the end of the day, you can't get all the points really in you know, all roles. Those are the magical weeks that we kind of live for. However, this wasn't one of those weeks. Trent obviously getting -1. Same with Robertson. They didn't get involved in either the attacking returns. However, Salah laid a ball into Robertson, which he could have potentially scored. So that may have helped with the points there, which would have boosted our captaincy points that we already got. But the midfield was really where we were shining. Bruno Fernandes, having been taken off at halftime, still scored a penalty before he did. Looked very good for United, and then it just went downhill from there. And then obviously James coming in with a brace assist, which is fantastic. Salah getting a brace and a bonus point. Pedence getting 3 points, which was above average for most midfielders, to be perfectly honest, if you're not named Son, Salah, James, basically. You know, those three did really well. So Pedence 3 points wasn't the end of the world. Calvert-Lewin getting a goal, not too bad. Bringing in Ings. So glad that we didn't captain him. We captained Salah. We stuck with our guns. And then Mitrovic only getting us 2 points, which isn't, you know, the end of the world. Mitchell getting 0. He didn't come off our bench, which was, you know, could have been better than one of our Liverpool defenders, to be perfectly frank. But at the end of the day, we'll definitely take the 67 points total after the -4 from our 71, and a big green arrow for us, which is quite good. So we're hoping to get inside the top million this week. That would be fantastic. So let's take a look at the fixtures from last week. So this is the Game Week 4 fixtures here. We have them up on our screen. And we're going to bring over my predictions as normal. So the way the scoring works, if you want to play along like I do every week, and keep a tally and let me know how you did. Basically, I do a prediction every week in our Game Week preview. And the way it works is if you get the exact result right. So if I were to predict that Chelsea had won 4-0 versus Crystal Palace, I would get 3 points. If I got the result right, so as in I predicted Chelsea to win and they won, not by the same scoreline, then I get 1 point. And if they have if I predicted Chelsea to win and they had lost or drawn, then I get 0 points. So in this case, Crystal Palace lost 4-0 to Chelsea. We predicted 3-1, but Chelsea still got the victory, so we get the 1 point for that. Everton again, 1 point for that. We predicted 3-1. It still ended up the same margin, but not the exact score, so we get 1 point because they won 4-2. We thought City would win 3-2 over Leicester. It could have potentially been more than that, but it ended up being 1-1, so no result there. Newcastle and Burnley, there was 4 goals in that game, which was quite surprising. So we're kind of taking a look at that one and seeing that I was definitely way wrong on that. Newcastle scoring 3 was definitely not what I was expecting. It might just have to do with the fact that Ben Mee is out, and that partnership between him and Tarkowski just is too good to be true. So we're gonna have to kind of question Burnley potentially going forward unless Ben Mee is back. So again, didn't get the right result there. We then said Leicester win 3-0 versus West Ham. Unfortunately, we predicted 3-0 for the wrong team, so West Ham ended up beating Leicester 3-0. We said Southampton would beat West Brom 3-0. They won 2-0, so we get 1 point for that. Arsenal 2-0 over Sheffield United. Ended up being 2-1, so still 1 point for that. Wolves with a victory 2-1 over Fulham. That was the prediction. They ended up winning 1-0. So 1 point for that. And we're just going to put X's by these last two here because I know I don't even have to look at the scores. I know that they're wrong. So Spurs beating United 6-1 and Aston Villa beating Liverpool 7-2. A clean sheet for Arsenal. That didn't happen, unfortunately. Mendy for Chelsea kept the clean sheet. Looked good. So he gets a return there. Semedo could have potentially scored, but he did get a clean sheet, so he did do well there. Van der Beek, unfortunately, did not play from the start and didn't have any goal involvement, so nothing really going on there. And Adams, I believe, didn't get any returns at all. No, he did not. So he unfortunately missed out. So we got 2 out of the 5 differentials, which isn't terrible. We'd like to have 3 or 4 or 5. And then we got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 5 out of 5 points there, which is 5 out of the 10 results right, which is not great. We expect to get a little bit higher than that or get 1 score right as well. So we kind of dipped below what we had last week, which was 7 points because we got 1 of the results right as well. So that's it for those predictions there. But in terms of what we saw throughout the week, Chelsea, starting off a bit, slow in the first half, not looking too great, and then they kind of turned it on a little bit. And then once they got the first goal, they kind of kicked it into gear. Everton-Brighton was a very exciting game, same with Leeds City, and I thought Newcastle and Burnley was going to put me to sleep, but I literally fell asleep out on the couch. And then I wake up and I see it's 3-1, so I missed all the action, apparently. West Ham-Leicester was quite good. Southampton-West Brom was quite good as well. Arsenal-Sheffield United, Wolves and Fulham were a bit boring, more or less, and then the real fireworks happened in the afternoon with United conceding 6 to Spurs and Aston Villa scoring 7 past Liverpool, which made the loss as a United fan just not as bad, really, even though it was quite bad overall. But yes, some things to take away from this game week. Somebody finally exploited Liverpool's defense. Yes, Aston Villa got 3 deflected goals. Doesn't matter. They look like they could score on every attack. United could have had 0 points at the end of this week, technically, because they lost or would have lost to Brighton or gotten a draw, or Brighton could have scored many more goals than what they did when United won 3-2. Wolves' attack doesn't look very potent at all. Southampton looked pretty comfortable in their game. Leicester, inconsistency shown there. Everton are still firing on all cylinders, and Chelsea scoring 4 past Palace after their first half was very, very bad, and Palace was playing quite compact. I think that they could potentially be even scarier once they have their full team with Ziyech and Pulisic, so we'll have to see how that goes. In terms of fixtures for this week, so if you didn't catch the beginning, basically, so you see these fixtures here, they haven't released them for Game Week 8. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same. I think it's because of daylight saving time potentially coming into, or the removal of daylight saving time. Game Week 6 is a Friday game, so again, we'll be doing the deadline stream at 7 p.m. EDT, so the same times as the preview show, except it's going to be on the Thursday, because I can't do it during the middle of the day. And same for Game Week 7 as well. But you'll still have the same amount of content, because we like our viewers here, and we like to give them the same amount of content. Doesn't matter if I have to work a little bit harder. At the end of the day, it is for you guys and girls. It depends on who's watching. We don't discriminate here. We like all viewers. We like everyone that is involved and is passionate about FPL, as we are on this channel. But let's get back into the fixtures here. So Game Week 5, we have, to start us off, we have the Merseyside Derby at Everton's Goodison Park. How do I think this game is going to go? Well, let's bring the little notepad across here and give ourselves a little bit of prediction. This can go one of 2 ways. It can either be Liverpool bounce back and they have a bit more of a controlled performance and they don't necessarily concede as much, and they kind of compact things up a little bit and go for much sturdier performance, or Everton has the likes of James take over the game. I'm not sure if Allen and Gomes are going to be back, but we'll have to see on that front. I haven't checked out their injury reports, but we'll know later on in the week how fit they are. I think Liverpool do bounce back, but I think it's going to be somewhat high scoring. I just have to hope that the Liverpool defenders get involved in it. Everton is susceptible to a few mistakes at the back because of Jordan Pickford, and Liverpool are the same with Adrian. So I think it's going to be a narrow victory for Liverpool. I'm going to go with a 3-2. Chelsea versus Southampton is an interesting one, because I think if they have all of their players, like I heard Mendy got injured, and I don't know how serious again the injury is. If it is a serious injury and they have Kepa in goal, then they could potentially concede as well. I think Southampton will score probably at least 1. It's just a matter of how many Chelsea will score. I think I'm going to go with a similar scoreline. I'm going to go with a 3-2 here. Pretty high scoring affair. I think Chelsea just edge it out there. City versus Arsenal. Now, Arsenal have had their fair share of good fortune in this fixture in recent games. However, during the league, it's a different story for Manchester City versus Arsenal. City are also at home. They're going to want to, fix what they've, not done basically in the past 2 weeks versus Leeds, and then in the previous week versus Leicester. and they've had a little bit of time to kind of catch up with themselves and, you know, come back from the international break. I think they win this game pretty comfortably. I think they get back on normal grounds and they win 3-1. Now, Newcastle versus United. I mean, Newcastle are putting 3 past Burnley, whose defense is usually supposed to be quite good. United's defense looks terrible. We're not sure if Cavani's going to be fit, so we might have to start a Gallo up front for United. Is Ole going to go with 5 at the back? That might shore things up. I think it's potentially going to be a bad day at the office for United and a pretty boring performance and not much creativity. I think what the most likely thing that Ole's going to do is go with a back 5, so 3 center backs and 2 wing backs. Unfortunately, the likes of Aaron Wan-Bissaka is not very good as a wing back. Tellez, if he comes in, will be quite good. Shaw as a left-sided center back is much better than when he is as a left back. But it just depends if who's in the center of the park. Is Pogba going to play there? It didn't, you know, he's looked great for France, not so good for United. So is Van der Beek going to come in? Will we have Cavani up front? Will he play Mason through the middle? Mason Greenwood, that is. I'm not too sure. I'm going to sit on the fence with this one. I don't have high hopes for this game. I think Newcastle have been looking good in spurts. I think Callum Wilson has done a fantastic job since he's come in and holding that front line. And I think the game is going to be a 1-1 draw. Sheffield United versus Fulham. I think both teams are potentially leaky at the back. I think Fulham more so than Sheffield United. I think Sheffield United finally gets some solid points on the board, though, and I think they win the game with the help of Ryan Brewster 2-1. Crystal Palace versus Brighton. I can see this potentially going, you know, a couple of ways. I think the most favorable one in terms of what I can see happening unfold is Brighton will dominate the large part of possession. Crystal Palace will try to hit them on the break, and it's just a matter of whether Crystal Palace will get those chances on the break and how good those chances are and if they put them away. I think that now that the transfer window is closed, it seems like Zaha always dips off in form. Whether that's just a mindset that, oh, I'm not moving to another club. Maybe the captain's armband has rejuvenated. We'll have to see. I think Brighton will nudge this one out, though. I think they win the game 2-1. Again, though, not another clean sheet for Brighton, unfortunately. Moving into the midday game for me, or the 4 o'clock kickoff for Spurs and West Ham. How's it going, Fabby Boss? Tottenham versus West Ham. I think this is going to be an interesting game. I think that West Ham could do quite well. They'll play as the underdogs. David Moyes will probably be back on the touchline, which means they'll probably lose because when he's been off the touchline, he's been quite good with the team. So, but I think it's going to be quite. Spurs are definitely leaky at the back. They're not, you know, invincible back there. I mean, Dyer showed on the international break that he wasn't great either, conceding a penalty in the England versus Belgium game. And I think Spurs are going to be quite deadly in terms of counterattacking, and I think West Ham potentially, if they're not well organized, Spurs can definitely do some damage with Bale, who is now going to be kind of the X factor, as it were. And if he's back on the side, him, Son, Kane just seems like a very scary proposition. If Kane is potentially out, which he's rumored to be, we'll have to see on that front how that works out. But I think Spurs, even without Kane, will probably still be okay, and I think they'll win the game 2-1. Leicester versus Villa. Now, Villa were very strong on the break versus Liverpool. I think Leicester's defense seems to hold up a little bit better, though, only conceding 2 to City. So they should be a little bit more resilient. I think that, you know, things go back to normality for Leicester. I think same thing for Aston Villa. I still think Aston Villa will score, though, because Watkins and Grealish have they've been doing quite well. And I think that 3-1 is a fair scoreline. West Brom versus Burnley. This could be the most boring game on the face of the planet, to be perfectly honest. And it's on a Monday at 1:30. So luckily, I will be working at that time, so I won't have to see it. Or fortunately for me, Leeds Wolves, however, could be interesting. But West Brom versus Burnley. I think West Brom will be the one on the front foot. I think Burnley will be the one on the defense. Can I see both teams potentially scoring? Possibly. So I'm just going to sit on the fence and go with a 1-1 as well. Again, not many clean sheets, if any at all, this week. Leeds versus Wolves. Again, Wolves, they had a couple of chances in their previous game. Jimenez having a 1-on-1 versus Fulham. But again, if you're only scoring 1 goal versus Fulham, Leeds' defense is probably slightly better than Fulham's, even though they're a bit more open. But I think Leeds will definitely score. So I think Leeds probably win this game pretty comfortably here. I don't think Wolves score in this game personally. I'm going to go with the Leeds 2-0 victory. And I think that's probably the only clean sheet that I can see potentially this week. If Wolves' offense is as bad as we saw versus Fulham, only getting 1 goal and not many chances to show for it. In terms of the clean sheets and the differentials for this game week, we are going with Burnley. Actually, I put down as a clean sheet. Not sure why, but I think that if they're ever going to keep a clean sheet, it is versus West Brom. I did predict a 1-1 here, so obviously not contradicting myself. But I think if there's going to be a clean sheet there, it could be Burnley. Or Leeds. I think those are the two potentially there, but we'll go with Burnley just because we've gone with the Leeds goalkeeper for our differential pick for our differential in goal there. A lot of people are jumping on him. And then we also have for defense, we have Alex Telles, who is probably going to come straight into Manchester United's side at either left wing back or left back, and will probably do quite well. So a very good differential at 5-5. I think he could provide great value on set pieces, as well as just open field crossing. He's kind of a left-footed version of Trent in a sense, where he likes that deep line cross, creates space for himself, opens his body up, and puts in a fantastic delivery of different types. And then we've highlighted Bale as well. If Kane is out or for whatever reason, but I think Bale, if he's fit, he's going to play. Bale could come in and do quite well for himself. And then lastly, we have Ryan Brewster, who I think will, if he starts, could potentially get on the score sheet versus Fulham, who have a quite a weak defense, and Sheffield United need the goal. So those are the differential picks for this week. And let's check out our team. So this is how we line up currently in the game week 5, or coming into game week 5. I don't like some of the fixtures here for some of the players. So obviously McCarthy, Chelsea away, pretty scary proposition if Pulisic and Ziyech are back. 2 Everton attackers versus 2 Liverpool defenders. Not great. But again, we have to think of that mindset. Everton and Liverpool, hopefully they score a bunch. Mainly Salah and Robertson and Trent get in on the action, and Rodriguez and Calvert-Lewin are on the other end. That would be the ideal scenario. I don't see it working out that way, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Could we make a transfer this week? We could. But again, Trent and Robertson didn't get returns last week. Maybe they get some this week. We'll have to see. Both teams are definitely going to attack. Both teams are susceptible to mistakes at the back. So we'll have to see on that front. Then we have Castagna versus Villa, who he's not going anywhere from our team, even though he only got 1 point last week. Again, we've got value on him. Yes, he is going against Aston Villa team that just put 7 past Liverpool. But I think Leicester's defense will try to rejuvenate itself from their 3-0 defeat last week, and I think they'll do better this week. And then we have Podence, just a cheap midfielder. Ings up front. He's not going anywhere, like I said, unless he gets injured, really. Mitrovic could potentially be one of the players that makes way. I kind of want to wait and see. He is versus Sheffield United, who have been shipping goals, and his fixtures, aren't the end of the world. Crystal Palace, West Brom, West Ham, Everton. He could potentially get something in there. Since we've had him so far, he's gotten 2 goals. So if you think he's gotten a goal every other game, that's pretty good. So I think that's perfectly fine. We don't need a brace from him every week. He's going to be doing quite fine for himself. And then in terms of the 2 center midfielders, we have Salah and Fernandez in the lineup. Salah's currently our captain. Might be Fernandez. It depends. how what I see or what I hear in the press conferences, and it all depends on if Klopp says, oh, we have a lot of people that are out or something like that, and the team's just looking a bit scanty, then against Everton that might be bad and Salah might not get involved. However, Salah's team can apparently concede 7 and he can score 2, so seems fine to me. He was away to Aston Villa and Salah away. When Mane is not in the team, he gets goals. So Mane should be back. He should be back, but if there's any inkling that Salah might be rested or something like that, or I mean there's an international break, so he should be getting his rest anyway. Then we'll put it on Fernandes, but it's probably going to be one of those two. I don't see anyone else really vying for it this week. The best captaincy option is probably going to be City for most people. People are going to go with Sterling or De Bruyne because they're home to Arsenal. But again, that can go wrong. There's not really very many good captains this week at all. But yeah, that's kind of how it's looking. If we save the transfer, then we can go into next week with 2 free transfers, so we can potentially look at what that might look like. Just kind of play around with it. We did lose value on Mitrovic, but we have, if we just look at our value here, I'll just see if I can get it all in one big table here. So we've got Steer, we've got McCarthy, no value gained. Ferguson, we got 0.1 on Mitchell, nothing on Robertson, nothing on Trent. Castagne's got us 0.2, which is nice. We've got 0.2 on Salah. We've got 0.1 on Podence. We've gotten 0.3 on James Rodriguez. We've gotten 0.6 on Calvert-Lewin. We've lost 0.1 on Mitrovic and gained that right back with the 0.1 on Ings. So overall, I'm not sure what my team value actually is. Let me see if I can scroll down. So it's 99.5 plus 1 is 100.5. So it's, quick maths, 101.2 million, something like that. So 101.2 million, so not too bad on the value. Like I said, we have 1.7 million in the bank, so let's look at some things that we could potentially do. So this week we could potentially take out one of our Liverpool defenders. I would be more inclined to take out Trent, to be perfectly honest with you. Robertson's been the more attacking one, the better delivery for the most part, and I think that he's slightly better value because he's 0.5 cheaper. Another player that could potentially be moved on is Fernandes, but he has Newcastle, who can concede goals. And that would be potentially Son or Bale. That's what I would be thinking. And then the only other option would be Mitrovic, and he would potentially be, maybe Antonio or Malpe or some cheaper forward. Any other forwards above the 6.5 bracket, not really interested in. Obviously, Calvert-Lewin's there, but the rest of them not really interested in. Would only be looking at Werner again or the 10.5s, really. So one potential move that we could do with 2 free transfers is, we could potentially, if we get rid of Fernandes, right now we can buy any of the City mids. So we can bring in, let's say, just Sterling hypothetically. This could be any City mid, and then we can take that 0.7 and potentially put it elsewhere, so we can upgrade Mitrovic to another forward or something of that sort. If we wanted to keep Fernandes and we wanted to get rid of our Liverpool defense, we could definitely downgrade Trent, and we could bring in, let's say, like Lamptey as an example, which would give us 4.5 million. So if we were to get rid of Mitrovic, that would give us 10.4. So we would be just shy of the likes of Aguero. So if we were to bring in a 4.5 defender, let's say, so if we just look at some of those that are kind of knocking about, as it were. So defenders, 4.5. We could bring in Walker Peters. That would be a double up with our goalkeeper. Not the greatest. We could bring in the likes of Eiling or Dallas, who have some decent fixtures. So Wolves at home is probably a not too bad fixture. Aston Villa away, if they keep playing the way they do, that might be bad. Leicester at home, again, that probably is not great. Chelsea, Crystal Palace away is probably okay. Arsenal at home, again, not great. Everton away, not great. But again, we could potentially, trade Mitchell, play Mitchell in one of those games if he's playing. Again, Patrick Van Arnholt is back from what I saw on Twitter. So if we look at his price, I believe he is somewhere in the 5.4. So if we brought him in and we took out Mitrovic, we would only be in the 9.5 bracket. So we could get Werner back in if we wanted to. We could potentially go for something a little bit riskier, and potentially, drop both our Liverpool defenders. I don't like that too much. But at the end of the day, it's kind of just wait and see on City, really. That's going to determine our plans here. Long term, what we're looking for. So game week 6, Chelsea play United. So that's not necessarily the greatest fixture. City are away to West Ham. Leicester play Arsenal. It's not great. Southampton versus Everton. Again, our assets are going against each other. Spurs versus Burnley. Again, the Spurs players look the best right now. So what I could do. So let's say I want to see Bale play. I really want to see him play, because if he is back, we can put him in there. We can take out the likes of Trent. We can put in PVA, because he potentially has some ridiculously good fixtures on paper. And then lastly, we could upgrade the likes of Mitrovic to a certain Sergio Aguero. Oh, Aguero's 10.4. Ooh, I didn't know that. Okay. So if we reset that, we took him and put him to, what was it, Lamptey? And then remove Mitrovic. We can do that in 2 moves. So if Aguero's back, we can go from Trent to Lamptey and then put in Aguero, assuming no price rises happen. If no price rises happen, that would be ideal, because I like Aguero better than any City asset right now, because I know that when he's fit, he's coming straight back in the team. Now, whether he's going to be, if he's back, we'll have to see. I know he's back in training. Again, he said he's scheduled for game week 7, so we don't have to make that decision yet. And when game week 7 comes around, Sheffield United away is a good fixture. It's not an FDR 4. Spurs away is a good fixture for Aguero. Liverpool could potentially be a good fixture for Aguero. Burnley's looking good. I think all of these fixtures are fantastic for Aguero, because he's just that good. The only one I say would probably be a bit of a nuisance for him. Just trying to think. I mean, the teams that sit in a low block probably don't help him. If Burnley gets their act together by the time they play him on game week 10, then that might be bad. Liverpool, if they sort out the defense a little bit better, maybe they put Fabinho back there, then it could be something, bit of a problem there. But that could be potentially the change that we're looking for. And then we can always, if we wanted to, we could take out Fernandez and still put in the likes of Son or somebody like that for a hit, and then we can have Son from the Burnley fixture onwards. So, and we get to also look at, is Son still firing? How's Bale doing? Is Aguero back? It could also be Gabriel Jesus too. If Jesus comes in, how much is he? If Jesus is back, he's 9.4. He's expected to be back 24th. So game week 6. So if he's back that game week, then we would be bringing him in for that. So we're not playing him. We wouldn't have him in for game week 5. We could transfer him in for game week 6. But again, we'd have to see kind of how things work. And we can be a bit flexible here, because we don't want Fernandez probably from these 3 games look terrible. Like Chelsea, as long as they have Mendy back there in goal, then this could be a nightmare. even though United still managed to get a penalty versus Spurs. Arsenal have been looking better defensively. Everton are probably going to smash United to bits. And the Christmas period's just not much better. City, Sheffield, it could be very good by then. Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Aston Villa, who could potentially still be on fire. That could just be an absolute nightmare going into those fixtures. So United's my team and all, but fantasy wise, I'm not. It doesn't look pleasing on the eye right about now. So yeah, a lot of things that we can do. Now let's take a look at where the clean sheets are coming from for the next couple of weeks, because we did our predictions, and the only one I really predicted was potentially Burnley against West Brom, and then Leeds potentially getting a clean sheet, versus Wolves. That could be the only two places that can get a clean sheet potentially. Would you play Klitsch versus Wolves or Brewster versus Fulham for Game Week 5? It depends. I would wait until the press conferences. But if both of those are guaranteed to play, I would probably say Brewster, because he's had time to, embed with the team. But again, you can't go wrong with a penalty taker. Yeah, I would say Click, actually. Click probably versus Wolves is probably better overall. I would think it's the safer pick. In a season where players are getting penalties, and he's obviously their penalty taker. Yes, he could potentially miss, but again, not the end of the world. That's going to happen. I mean, Fernandez hasn't missed one, but I expect him to do it at some point. I just need to make sure that I don't have him at that point. But yeah, clean sheets for this could be 2 clean sheets wiped out. Same with this one. Maybe Crystal Palace clean sheet versus Fulham. Maybe Chelsea United are going to score against each other. Liverpool and Sheffield. Liverpool might keep a clean sheet there. Maybe Southampton and Everton will probably score against each other. Wolves might keep a clean sheet versus Newcastle or vice versa. Arsenal Leicester will probably concede against each other. Brighton maybe a clean sheet. Spurs maybe a clean sheet. But again, it's not guaranteed like certain. Like nobody's defense looks like rock solid right now. I would probably say the team that's closest to that at the moment. Southampton had 2 clean sheets on the bounce. It's really hard to say. I thought it was going to be Crystal Palace, maybe when they have all the defenders fit, maybe. But again, even Game Week 7, you expect Crystal Palace to potentially score versus Wolves, and maybe vice versa. Maybe that's like a 1-1. City maybe keeps clean sheet, but again, defensively, they're not great either, but they do have Diaz and Laporte, who look fantastic. They just need to sort out their fullbacks defensively now. Chelsea are susceptible on set pieces, and if Mendy's not fit, I don't know how long his injury is. Burnley could potentially score there. Chelsea will definitely score versus Burnley. Liverpool versus West Ham, that could be a bloodbath. Villa versus Southampton, same thing. Newcastle versus Everton, both are susceptible at the back. United Arsenal, they're going to be going at each other. Spurs and Brighton. Spurs will probably like to hit Brighton on the break. Fulham and West Brom, that's probably the closest one for clean sheet, maybe. And then Leeds Leicester, those teams are just going to go gung-ho against each other. So you're looking at the next 3 game weeks, and no real opportunities for clean sheets for the most part. It's going to be a bit tricky to kind of pick them out. And it kind of all stems on how these on how City plays and how Liverpool plays, really. Because a lot of people have Trent still. People have been transferring him out, but he's still over 40% owned. A lot of people have been picking up Robertson in his place, who's gone up in ownership. Castagna, I can see him potentially conceding versus 3 out of the next 4 of these. If he gets 1 clean sheet in these next 4 games, I'll be very happy with him. Even Crystal Palace now, they conceded 4 to Chelsea, who didn't look great in the first half, but then conceded 4 just like that. Yes, they conceded 2 penalties, but again, not looking ideal either. And the teams that you would normally associate with clean sheets, if we look at just the Game Week 5 fixtures, you would think you think Liverpool would be good for clean sheets. They're versus Everton this week, so that's not likely. And their next 3 is Sheffield, they could keep a clean sheet there, so maybe they get back to that there. But West Ham, again, they could potentially score versus them very easily the way they've been playing. Chelsea, still not 100% convinced defensively. City, still not 100% convinced. Arsenal conceded the first goal that Sheffield United has scored this season, so again, still not convinced defensively. United just conceded 6, so they're in the dumps right now. Crystal Palace conceded 4. Brighton have been playing well. Spurs, you're going to potentially want 2 Spurs attackers maybe on your wild card. So if you're wild carding this week. So do you have room for another defender? We'll have to see. Burnley, again, haven't kept a clean sheet yet as far as I know. So if we go, so Burnley lost, they conceded 4 to Leicester. They didn't have Tarkowski. I believe Tarkowski came back in this game, and they only conceded 1, but they still did concede. And then they conceded 3 to Newcastle, which, count how many times on one hand Newcastle scored 3 goals in the season. It's, it's not going to be very often. So yeah, clean sheets are looking a bit tricky. And same for the captaincy as well. I mean, if you look at the fixtures here, we're going to have the captaincy video out tomorrow. But if you're looking at the normal candidates, so Salah or Mane versus Everton, yes, they could score against them. But are they be in and among the goals? Teams are going to be going back and forth. And if one team gets a momentum, then the other team could just be super susceptible at the back, and then it could be an Aston Villa versus Liverpool result from last week. Chelsea versus Southampton. Southampton 2 clean sheets and 2, looking good. Will Chelsea have all their forwards back? We'll have to see. City and Arsenal. Again, if you have Aubameyang away to City, it's not looking great personally. Although he did score. Was it 2 on the break in the FA Cup? Was the FA Cup semi-final at the post restart? So potentially something there. But again, we don't know what City's lineup's going to be looking like coming from the international break. Sterling looks like he's flagged. Jesus is supposed to be back game week 6. Aguero game week 7. Those could potentially be hurried up. We don't know. Again, like Colexis. I think that's how you pronounce it. Pickford in goal makes me want to captain Salah. Yeah, even better, I would say if you have Mane, I would definitely say captain Mane, because Mane is a very good away captain when teams are very bad defensively. Salah scored points in the away fixture because Mane wasn't in the team, and that usually happens. We've seen that historically. But Mane away from home has always been very good. But the problem is, there's this myth. Right? It's an FPL kind of hidden rule. You don't want to captain the player in the first game, because if he blanks, then you're thinking about the whole game week. Is Werner gonna bang? What about De Bruyne and Sterling? What about Fernandes? Is he gonna get 2 penalties? What about Kane? What about Son? What about potentially Bale? What about Vardy? What about Jimenez? All these sorts of players for the rest of the game week still have to go. So that's what's kind of making me think, do I back Fernandes? Do I captain Salah? I mean, Salah's been doing great this season. 6 attacking returns so far. 5 goals and an assist. And we've captained him twice this season. He's returned in both of them. We didn't get him for the hat trick, unfortunately. We captained Aubameyang, who still got us a goal, so it's still fine. But yeah, if you have a Spurs player, potentially they're a captaincy option. I like Brighton. I like Brighton for captaincy potentially this week. It could be a shout there. Question how Mane's fitness will be coming back. I'd give him a game to bed back in. Yep, that makes perfect sense too. I would agree with that. The only thing is because that I say he could be straight back into the team, because they announced that he was out quarantining before the Aston Villa game, or as the Aston Villa game was going to start, or something like that, right? So he would have had let me bring up the calendar here. So he would have had the 4th of October. So he has so the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. So that's 5. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. That's 10 days. So that's the max. That's the number of days that they have to stay isolated in the Premier League. So that's 10. And then he still has 14th, 15th, 16th. And when do they play? They play on the Saturday. So he technically could probably have like 2 training sessions in. It depends on how it affected him. I wouldn't be surprised to see him on the bench, potentially. But again, they'll have to see. Maybe it affected him more than other players. Again, we'll have to see. I would say that's a good shout. If they were to play on Sunday, I would say he's probably going to be fine. But, yeah, it's a bit tricky. And against Everton, again, Everton could go out, get 2 goals right off the start, and then Liverpool are chasing. And then you're just asking a whole pile of questions on, oh, no, this is going to be one of those where my captain blanks and then everyone else does well. You know? I would say if I'm betting money on like the best possible captain or potentially the most possible captain player this week, it's going to be a toss-up between De Bruyne and Sterling. Although, are they the best captaincy choices this week? That's debatable. Because I think if the real Manchester United goes out and plays versus Newcastle, I think Fernandes can do really well. I also think that Spurs versus West Ham could be quite open, which favors Spurs. I think that Brighton could do really well. So Mopai or Trossard or somebody like that could be an outside shout for the captaincy. Sheffield United been weak defensively. Mitrovic even could potentially do something there. Again, Fulham don't, look good at all, but even still. Leeds versus Wolves. Again, if Leeds is super open and Wolves actually take their chances. Jimenez, again, another shout for the captaincy. People brought him in, for these sets of fixtures. For, he's playing, he's got Leeds away. He's got Newcastle at home. He's got Crystal Palace at home. He's got, Leicester away, Southampton at home. All very good teams to potentially score against. So, again, it's a bit tricky. Chelsea, again, people are thinking about captaining or did captain Werner in game week 3. That didn't work out. We have to wait and see. I have Kane plus on, but I just don't know how to feel about West Ham. I rewatched their game, and their deep defense is going to give Spurs issues. Again, I think that could potentially be a good and a bad thing. A good thing, just like how you said, where they're going to play deep, and Spurs have to basically open them up. The thing is that if Bale plays, Bale is the X factor, right? Because Bale can create something and cause havoc from outside the box, which basically nullifies deep blocks, right? So if you have, have the 18-yard box right here, and you got all the defenders kind of sitting along it. If Bale can shoot from outside that kind of wall of defense and get space to do so, Bale can score from literally anywhere. I mean, the man bicycle kicked one in the back of the net in a Champions League final. Like, the dude's ridiculous, right? And his finishing looks like it's as good as it ever was from the training videos I've seen that Spurs posted of him. It just depends on if he's fit. We know he's going to be, if he is fit, he's going to probably play. I wouldn't expect him to not play. Just like Alex Telles for United, I expect him to play. If Cavani's fit, I expect him to play as well. All these players coming in. Brewster is another one. I expect him to play. Mane, if he's fit and says I'm ready, he's gonna play. But again, it just depends. That's why people on Wildcard have it even more difficult now, because people can come back, they can test positive. People these players, they can get injured on international break. The players like people are saying, oh, Kane could be out for a week or two now. What do you do with him? Because apparently he had some type of problem, whether it be from training or one of the games, I think it was. People may have been looking to bring in Mendy, Chelsea's goalkeeper. He's picked up an injury. And it just depends. It just really, really depends on how it all works out, to be perfectly honest. These injuries, these positive cases can throw a real spanner in the works for some teams, and can just make things a bit difficult. But that's why you have to roll with the punches, and that's why I think early transfers were punished heavily. the hokey cokey, as it's called, that people did with Son. So people had him in Game Week 1, who took him out in Game Week 2 when he scored a lot, brought him back in Game Week 3 when he got taken off at halftime, to take him out for him to score again and come back from injury in Game Week 4. You know, that type of stuff is just a bit knee-jerk reaction in that regard. But yeah, that's why I wasn't even thinking about wildcarding this week. I'm not going to wildcard unless things are absolutely diabolical into the second international break. Actually, is there... so second international breaks after Game Week 8. Then it's 21st, 28th, 5th, 12th. Okay, so there's no international break. So there's only 2 international breaks before Christmas. Good. Okay, and then that's when we can use our wild card. Because basically my strat was going into the season was to save the wild card for when the potential to line our team up for the potential double game weeks that'll be announced in January. For like, I think it's game weeks like 18 and 19. So that's what we're planning on using it for. So unless my team is like in the horror show, let's say like, let's go back to looking at the team here. Let's say like Fernandez is injured, James is injured, Salah tests positive, Calvert-Lewin gets injured, Ings is out. If the team is just in dire straits, then I'll have to, fix something out. But I think that's going to be few and far between. And I think that it's going to be, some things are going to be easier to replace than others. So like as an example, if let's say Salah is, he tests positive, so he has to be out for 2 game weeks basically, just bring in Mane. It's perfectly fine. Yes, we lose 0.1 potentially on Salah if we don't sell him in time. But we'll bring him back in for a cheaper price anyway, so it's going to be fine, because he'll definitely drop, because people will sell him for those 2 game weeks that he'll be out. It's just a matter of if a large amount of those come at the same time. So it has to be like 3 or 4 players, are out completely, and then you're looking at the likes of my bench, and you're looking at, Burke doesn't necessarily guarantee game time. Mitchell might not play anymore. Ferguson is still red flagged, and we're not sure when he's going to be back. Says unknown return date, and I haven't heard anything, so could be a bit tricky. Also, thank you for following as well, Kulexis. Much appreciated. Also, we are an affiliate here over on Twitch as well, so I'm going to see if I can sort that stuff out. I think we can have emotes and stuff, so I'll have to see if I can go get some of those done up. So we'll have to see how that works out, as well as over on Twitch, on YouTube rather. We have close to 1,100 subscribers, which is fantastic. So yeah, so I'll have to get some of that stuff sorted out as well. I think people who saved their wild cards will be rewarded by seeing another 4 game weeks of results. Games have been all over the place, and people are iffy for transfers, decisions left and right. I mean, exactly. That's a fantastic point. A fantastic point. Again, this is the first international break that we've seen pretty much of its kind, really. One where you can combine injuries plus the fact that people have to go through these, weird quarantine patterns and all that sort of stuff. And, that can cause, some issues for some teams more than others. Like, Liverpool didn't have Mane, but they had the rest of their team, but they still lost 7-2 without Mane. City maybe not having Gundogan on the bench potentially could have affected Pep's decision making there. Maybe he would have played versus Leeds. Maybe he would have played versus Leicester. We don't know. But these decisions are definitely affecting teams. The one nice thing, though, I mean, it isn't nice, obviously for anyone to test positive or have to deal with it. But the one nice thing is that the way the body works, you have antibodies, which are now basically act as a ward off for getting the virus again, which means that come crunch time, Mane, if he's fit, will play because if his teammates test positive, he cannot test positive again. Well, at least it's very, 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 very unlikely that he will. And since these guys are athletes, they're going to be able to, bat off the disease as better than anyone else. So I think that is one benefit, as it were. So like obviously Paul Pogba is a key player for United. He's had it. Tested positive and has he's come back and look a bit leggy. Not much guile about him, but looking playing for France, doing quite well. But again, he's going to be somebody that if he's fit, he's probably going to play. He's going to start games and won't test positive again. Well, at least there's a high percentage chance again that he won't test positive. And these key players, if they get it earlier on the season, come crunch time, like I said, they're going to be basically immune to basically being rotated, as it were, because they have to play. Let's say come March, April, Salah tests positive, but and Mane's perfectly fine, because his immune system is either disregarded the virus already and is able to defend it off, even if he were to intake some of it again, as it were, through respiratory means. He's not going to be affected by it because his immune system is going to be like, okay, yeah, we've seen that before, bang, and it's gone. So we'll have to see. But yeah, we've run just close to an hour here, so we're about to wrap it up here. So let's go back to the big screen. So yeah, it's good to be back. It is very good to be back for the preview streams. The international break is so boring. I mean, the international break is boring when England beat the #1 ranked nation in Belgium in the world, and nobody really cares. Because everyone's just moaning about how Southgate plays 8 defenders, basically, in his team. But yeah, it's glad to have actual Premier League football back. And as usual, we'll be doing our deadline stream. Captaincy video will be out tomorrow, buy, hold, sell on Wednesday, with the Pep Roulette videos on Thursday, and I'm going to do a lineup announcement video, so kind of run through my team and kind of my decision making on why I'm keeping a player, playing them, that sort of stuff, if they're on my radar to sell, that sort of stuff. That's going to be on Friday. Saturday, deadline stream 1 hour before the deadline, which is, let me just check here. So the deadline is 7 a.m. my time, which means I have to be up an hour before that, which is 6 a.m. my time, which is, since I'm 1 hour ahead of EDT, 5 a.m. EDT, as we did in game week 4. So that's going to be it for that week. And then, like I said, for game week 6 and 7, there's games on Friday, so we'll just do it the Thursday night. 7 p.m. EDT for those. And if you want to make sure you keep up to date with all that sort of stuff, make sure to give us a follow here on Twitch. Make sure to follow us over on Twitter. It's very important because there is where you get all the updates. So what videos are coming out for the week, what streams are going to be going up throughout the week, any videos that are posted, any live streams that are posted to when we go live on those. So make sure to turn the notification bell on for that as well. And we're almost at 100 followers over there as well. So I know there's a lot of you that aren't following because we have close to 1,100 subscribers on YouTube and under 100 followers over on Twitter. So make sure to hit that follow button. And then obviously if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe over on YouTube as well. It greatly helps out the channel. And leave comments down below as to any questions or concerns that you might have for your FPL team. I try to see if I can answer them all as best to my ability. But for now, I'm going to love you and leave you. And it's been Pilot Flame signing out. Game Week 5 preview done. Make sure to check out all the videos coming out this week. And I will see you over on the deadline stream on Saturday at 5 a.m. EDT. Take care.